That's an unboxing. It's a laptop.
A mystery laptop. All we know is it's MSI. And
What model is this?
I think it's a gaming laptop.
Yes,
right?
it is. It is a gaming laptop. I think with a GTX 1060. This is the MSI GE72 MVR7RG. Now, this is available in a bunch of different configurations with a bunch of different screens, processor, you name it. It's a 17.3-inch anti-glare full high def, that's 1080p wide view 120 Hz monitor with a Core i7 7700HQ processor and an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070 with 8 gigs of RAM. They put a 1070 in this thing, goodness. For storage, it has a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM hard drive and also a 256 gig SSD for the operating system drive, and it has 16 gigabytes of DDR4. There's a wireless LAN and Bluetooth combo module. It comes with Windows 10 64-bit. This is the US international version, and the battery is 51 watt hours, and it's a 6 cell. So here it is. Got a really nice brushed metal finish.
It's got some contours like the hood of a car. Aerodynamic.
That's because it's going to be so fast that it's going to like blow you away or whatever.
Yeah.
The touchpad has a brushed metal texture. It's kind of weird. All right, let's take a look at the sides. On this side, we've got a micro SD card slot, power input, and a USB 2.0 port. On this side, we've got gigabit Ethernet, USB 3.0, HDMI, mini DisplayPort, USB 3.0, USB Type-C, headphone and microphone jacks, and of course a Kensington lock slot.
So this features a GTX 1070, which makes it VR ready and lets you game at 120 hertz.
I always wonder about laptops where they put on a display that can handle 120 hertz, but then they put like an Intel, Iris Pro graphics adapter.
They also offer, on certain models, the NVMe PCIe Gen 3x4 SSD, and they have cooling technology that includes 6 heat pipes between the GPU and CPU, and they have a button with a little snowflake on it that will fire those fans up to full power.
I'm not sure if that's a snowflake or fans, but either way, it makes it cool.
It also offers virtual surround sound, which of course is important if you're going to use this for VR, and a laptop that supports macros and fully programmable RGB if that's your thing.
They partnered with SteelSeries, so they're using the SteelSeries Engine 3 to do all their macro keyboard stuff. Now, it's kind of unusual. Gaming laptops, you got to be careful with a gaming laptop because gaming laptops may be a build that is not balanced super well, or using a gaming laptop for productivity applications, it's not always the best idea. But the interesting thing is that this laptop has come up in a lot of places as readers' favorite laptop. PC Magazine and other websites, users have said, wow, this laptop is a really great value. It gives you a lot of horsepower because it is a gaming laptop. It is a big laptop because 17 inches GTX 1070, got to be able to dissipate the heat. But this is portable, portable computing enough for some people. So we wanted to take a look. We're going to test it. We're going to do gaming benchmarks and other regular benchmarks, but we're also going to install Linux. So let the games begin. Literally and figuratively, because Linux, I guess, would be one of the game in the games, but not literally a game because, oh, we're so awkward. Now, because this is a Core i7 7700HQ and because it is a GTX 1070 8 gig, it has 2 massive heat exhausts on the back. And you can really, when you press the snowflake button, the fans will slowly ramp up over about a 5 to 6 second period, and you can really feel a ton of air coming out the back vents. So this thing can dissipate a lot of heat really quickly.
That's useful because when you're playing games, you might not want to wait for the temperature sensors to get hot before you start providing cooling. This will give you a much smoother gaming performance when you know that you're going to start taxing the video card and the CPU.
Would you rather have a laptop that's 95 degrees C because the electronics can handle that, but you might not necessarily find that very comfortable in your lap?
Right, yeah.
All right, so we've done a terrible thing. We've voided the warranty. Yes.
This was a bit of a challenge to get this apart too. They clearly not looking for the consumer to do that.
No, this actually is a surprisingly maintenance-friendly laptop, but they don't make it easy for you to disassemble, and because of that, I can't recommend that you would disassemble this laptop, even to do upgrades.
The warranty sticker being the biggest problem there.
Yeah, although it's not as bad as taking apart any Apple device ever.
Well, That's a pretty low bar.
All right, so let's break it down. What are we looking at here?
Well, we've got what appears to be the 1070 here in the middle. And we're making that assumption because it has more heat pipes. It's really not super obvious which is which between the CPU and the video card, but we believe this is the 1070 and this is the CPU, the i7.
We're pretty sure.
Now, of course, this is the 6 heat pipes that they advertise on the box that go to these coolers here on the side. Press the snowflake button, those turn up to full power, and you get all this nice cooling for both your CPU and your GPU.
Yeah, check out the heat pipe routing. You've got 3 heat pipes on the GPU, one of which goes to this cooler and the other 2 go to that cooler. And then your CPU cooling is almost exclusively over here. The only other CPU connection is down here, which is your power delivery system for the GPU most likely. And so then that sort of passively goes over there. So this is not really a great, like getting the heat out this way for this device, really not the best ever. But it's, you know, Kaby Lake is super low power, so I don't really think that's a big deal.
Over here we've got our networking, our Wi-Fi. We've got our RAM.
2 8 gig sticks of RAM, DDR4.
Of course, we've got the NVMe right here. And the mechanical hard drive, which for your extra storage. We got speakers along the front here. This, I believe, is the RGB controller. We might have to check into that.
Yeah, we're not sure if that's RGB or touch controller or both for the touchpad. Some combination, maybe the SteelSeries thing. It does have extra plastic on it to prevent ESD discharge, so there's that.
And finally, we have this subwoofer extra sound based device here.
Now, the interesting thing to note here is where they've put the mechanical hard drive. This was clearly originally designed for an optical drive, but they've made better use of that space by putting in a mechanical hard drive for long-term storage.
Seems like they could have gone for a easily swappable solution here.
Yeah.
But decided not to.
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to upgrade the storage, or, you know, maybe you can get 16 gig sticks at some point in the future, or replace the battery. The battery is actually modular, but you can't replace it without taking it apart. Overall though, it's a really clean PCB design. It looks really well manufactured. The solder joints are clean, you know, a lot of micro soldering, things like that. And it is modular, so, you know, if something dies or something gets, you know, blown out or you need to replace something, it looks like you would be able to replace things. And the CPU, of course, is not removable. It looks like it's soldered. The GPU is not removable, it's soldered as well. So, you know, if something major happens, you will be replacing the motherboard. But it is nice to say that you can at least upgrade the memory, replace the battery if the battery wears out, or fix up the NVMe should something happen to that.
Yeah, and once you get past that warranty sticker, they're all pretty right there in your face. You're not going to be taking additional things apart or, you know, destroying the circuit board trying to get to it. The RAM and the hard drives are pretty much right there.
Hey, I just noticed there's a screw missing from the hard drive. Someone's been here before.
Oh.
That wasn't us.
It's not properly seated. Could go flying out at any minute.
Okay, so we've been using this thing for a while. What's the verdict? How did the testing go?
Well, the gaming benchmarks went pretty well. Of course, this is a 1080 screen, so not super demanding. And all the game benchmarks we did, it performed fairly well. This is a 120 hertz monitor, so we would have liked to have seen everything stay above that. And on medium, most games could handle 120. If you want to get up into the high settings, they would drop below that, but definitely playable frame rates.
Yeah, the Linux testing did not quite go as well. I was able to get Fedora 26 up and running on it in a secure boot configuration. One thing that is advantageous with this laptop is because you've got the mechanical hard drive as well as the NVMe, you can use the mechanical hard drive just for Linux and the NVMe for Windows, or you could partition the NVMe so it's some Windows and some Linux, and use the mechanical hard drive again for some Windows and some Linux. You could also, you know, void the warranty and replace the hard drive with an SSD and use that for Linux. So I like the option of having multiple storage devices internally. I was able to set up the proprietary NVIDIA driver on the laptop, but I did not fool with anything like Bumblebee or being able to switch between the Intel integrated graphics and the proprietary NVIDIA driver. The sound worked out of the box, the wired network worked out of the box, as did the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, at least on Fedora 26. There have been some reports of problems with other distributions, but I suspect that is down to needing the very latest and greatest Linux kernel. And so with Fedora 26, that was kernel 4.11. And let me tell you, the specific version I'm running for this testing was kernel 4.11.4-300 for Fedora 26. So, you know, I am using Secure Boot as well. So like the Fedora installer has the signed thing. So it was not necessary for me to disable Secure Boot, but depending on what distribution you're using and what your options are, you may have to go into the UEFI and disable some combination of Secure Boot and SpeedStep, depending on what kernel options you have. This is, of course, the HQ version of the processor, so it's almost a desktop processor in a laptop. So I would say that this is like medium plus Linux compatibility. If you plan to do it, if you're running the latest and greatest bleeding edge Linux, it'll be okay, but you'll have to do some work to get everything working.
We also have not personally tested it, but we have read some things online about this, and the VR support is questionable. One of the big problems is this machine reporting to the VR headset that it does not meet the minimum requirements, even with all of the little bells and whistles when the super fans turned on, and also that the USB underpowers the Oculus specifically.
Doesn't supply enough power. Now, I happen to have a couple of USB devices that demand quite a lot of power, and you know, testing it with them, there may be something to the USB ports don't supply enough power to keep the thing powered. You do have a USB 2 port on the side, which made installing Linux a lot easier, but you've got the two USB 3 and then the USB Type-C port on this side, so you know, your mileage may vary. If you did get the Rift and you're trying to use the Rift with this laptop, you know, let us know. Worst case scenario, you may be able to use a powered USB hub in that scenario. We're not really sure what the current status of the Oculus Rift compatibility is, though.
So ultimately, if you're looking for a Linux laptop, maybe not the greatest. It'll work, but
you'll have to do some work.
Yeah, expect to spend some time dealing with it. If you're looking for a gaming laptop, on the other hand, this thing performs really well.
Yeah, the fact that it's as large as it is and that the heatsink is as large as it is and that the fans can ramp up as much as they do mean that you're able to deal with the heat produced by those components. So it can definitely dissipate them. But it is, you know, a 17-inch hefty laptop. It's not an ultra portable, so you know that going into it. All in all, if you're into desktop replacement laptops, it's not too bad. So if you picked up one of these or you're thinking about buying one of these, come to the forums at Level 1 Techs. I'm Wendell, I'm signing out, and I'll see you there.